Hey guys, Deslater Magic here and back by popular demand, it's MTG Mistakes. Now, why did it take so long for my number one most popular series that a lot of people are like, oh my god, this helped me out so much? Why did it take so long for me to make another video? Mostly because I ran out of things that people are doing incorrectly. I mean, this is video number 34. Like, that's a lot of things if you think about it. Although you could count my videos saying that the design of Aether Revolt was an MTG mistake. Bit of a different angle, but whatever. But this one, instead of being gameplay oriented, is actually about deck building. And hey, if you think about it, you could make as few mistakes as possible and show up with a drastically not correct deck, like one that's just designed wrong. Well, I got the inspiration for this one by a bunch of really stupid comments on a couple of my videos lately. And then I remembered I've heard this in real life too, and it just never works out. It's actually one of the most common mistakes people make in general. Let's say you have a deck. It's green energy or red creature rush, with all menace. So you got your deck idea down, but you keep losing because, both of those decks would honestly not be that great. I mean, they're good decks. They have synergy. They have a central theme. The math is spot on. They're just not that great. If you're going to do a single purpose, I'm not interacting with my opponent deck, you better hope that it's way faster than theirs. I mean, way faster. Like turn 4 or 5 faster. Otherwise, like I always say, it's a drag race deck. If you do what you do without screwing with what they're doing, then you better do it faster or they're going to get your life total to 0 quicker. So without you two screwing with each other, the fastest deck wins. That's probably a better way to say it. So what do people do? They say, well, I keep losing to artifacts, we'll say, because this will be like an Aether Revolt example. So everybody tells me, oh, well, this combo and that combo and that combo and that combo, those 4 combos that you said, yeah, they're early game, yeah, they're fast, but there's like a 1-cost artifact destruction. There's, still negate is still legal, and there's still like a 2-cost artifact destruction, so you could stop it. I can make 5 videos about what's all wrong with that statement, but this one is just focusing solely on the fact that that's not how you build a deck. So you take your deck, your green energy deck, and you put in, we'll say 2 times 4, so 8 total copies of some like naturalized clone. I don't remember the name of an actual green artifact destruction, but there are some. So you throw those in, you're gonna stop artifacts. Now, at a total population of 8, I think you've got like something like a 78% chance of your first 7 cards starting with those cards. So if you include like turn 2, it goes up, 80+%. Now, unfortunately, that's, it's good, but it's not that reliable. If you up it to like something like 14, it's somewhere in the 90-95+% range, and that's reliable. But you're only putting in 8. You're just modding your deck a little bit because you're sick of losing to artifacts. We'll say some big artifact combo. We'll say turn 4 Metalwork Colossus. Okay, that's what keeps killing you. So you're going to throw in Naturalize. So that and another clone of it. Well, you had to take something out. That's the problem. So you probably took out, we'll just say 8 creatures because it was an all creature energy green deck. This isn't the most accurate to life example. Well, you just lowered the total damage of your deck because by turn 7, you're going to have less creatures on the field than you would with the old design. So you just lowered your damage output. So the question becomes, when you lowered your damage output and your average damage by turn, X, is it a net positive trade-off with stopping what they're doing by blowing up their artifacts? Now, if they're just running like one of the new artifact convoke decks, I'm still going to keep calling it that because I still don't remember what the hell it's called. Improvise, I think. If you just blow up one and then maybe you get a second spell, blow up a second one, they just have 2 less mana. That's nothing. You probably would have been better off with the creatures. Now, if you blow up a Gear Hulk or you blow up a Colossus, that's a lot of bang for your buck if it's only 2 mana. I mean, that's huge. You wouldn't have even been able to swing at all with that on the field. Aetherworks Marvel, oh yes, that is worth blowing up because now their deck is going to do very close to nothing. Those decks are kind of glass cannon-y to an extent. Once they finally got one of their 4 Aetherworks out and they want to go get Emrakul or something with it, if you blow it up, that's it. I mean, their board state at that point is probably pathetic, and you can continue summoning slightly less creatures because they didn't have blockers in the first place. Their deck was just more giant creatures faster, and that's how they were beating you. So in that case, yes, you should put in the 8 removal spells. But here's the problem with that. Now you have to mulligan until you start the game with 1, or you're going to lose, unless their side self-destructs as well and they have to start with 5 and all 4 of their Aetherworks are on the bottom of the library. You never know when they're going to self-destruct, but, a 70-80% chance you're going to be mulliganing a lot. That's at least once every other round, a round of 2 to 3 games in NF&M, I mean. So that's pretty bad. I mean, that's opening yourself up to a really dumb, unnecessary requirement. So if you just really need to shut down artifacts because everybody's running artifacts, which, I mean, yeah, fast forward to Aether Revolt, yeah. Let's say you go nuts and you put in 16 removals, okay? You just had to pull about half of your deck. So what the hell in your deck is left that's going to win the game? Let me propose it another way. Somebody else puts out, we'll just say a 40-20 deck, which that's a little bit of a stretch, but it's 40 cards and then 20 lands. So they've got a central strategy, a theme, everything builds on itself. Maybe everything gets counters. Maybe everything can tap for more mana and it ramps up to a giant free creature. Maybe it's, a fetch deck. Maybe it's an all planeswalkers deck. Whatever it is, it's tight. It's down to a science. It's a good, solid deck. So you've got the same thing. You've got, green energy. You got your electrostatic pummeler. You got your Dynavolt towers. You're all set for energy. It's just their deck is clearly better, faster, and more likely to win sooner. So what do? You take out 16 cards and put in artifact destruction? I mean, what is left in your deck? There's no combos. There's no anything. There's nothing left to win the game in a reasonable amount of time. And no matter how many artifacts you destroy on their side, it's still not going to make you any faster. And quick little aside, that's why spells like Spell Queller are insane, because they shut down whatever your opponent was doing and, I'd say, bolster your board side, but that's an actual thing. They give you more attack power at the same time. More blockers, more attack power, more board presence, while also shutting them down. That is like a game-winning swing in card form. I do think Spell Queller is a little bit too powerful. Everybody says it, but I'll repeat it. Turning creatures into spells on a mass scale was a little bit of a design mistake. It makes decks a little bit too good. But anyway, the mistake that people make is not use Spell Queller. They use Naturalize and Reclaiming Vines and Fragmentize, whatever. So they're equipped and ready to blow up anything that the opponent brings out, except they forgot that they also have to win the game. There has to be a win condition. So let me use a counter example. Like, you're probably thinking, what, you just not put control in your deck? That's where you're leaving this video? No, it's a balancing act. If you can get a 2-for-1 or like something that counters multiple spells or something with flashback from the graveyard where you can cast it twice, or, something with rebound. These are all not legal in standard, but you get the examples. You want to get as much bang for your buck out of every single card, and then control wins. So any kind of passive control where you could like pay 5 on an artifact, tap it, and then counter a spell, and then the very next turn it untaps and you can use it again. Now that's control. That is like going a long way. So reloadable control, that is the real solution, but I have a very, very basic, simple example. I played against the deck on X-Mage, and this was the deck from hell, and then one of my friends actually has a very similar but even better deck in real life that I played against, and that was a catastrophe. I very narrowly lost a 2 out of 3 against him. It was Gravity Bomb, and he used almost no creatures, so I'm even surprised I won the first game. So there was a deck that's mono blue, okay? Runs nothing but counter spells and bounce back to hand. So if they're doing something really detrimental to you, you counterspell it. Or if they're about to summon something really horrific, you counterspell it. And if you ran out of counter spells or it's just getting out of control, there's already 2 permanents on the field. What's the point in countering the third one? You're still going to lose. You have a losing board state. Bounce everything back to hand. So he had all kinds of weird like board wipes and stuff in there. Maybe it was more than just mono blue. I don't quite remember. But then he brought out the bombs. I'd say 12 to 16 of his cards that weren't control and weren't board reset and weren't scry and draw, which he also had, especially passive scry and passive draw that was recurring per turn. The rest of it was gigantic creatures, and I mean just huge, like creatures that said they could not be countered. We're talking Garrus Masterpiece, the 7/7 flyer. I think there might have been like a Leviathan, maybe a giant crab in there. I don't even remember. It was so exotic, and the cards are ones that nobody really plays that I don't remember them. But it worked. I mean, he basically just stalled, and then brought out like a 5, 6, or 7 damage creature. Well, think about it. You only need to hit the opponent 4 times with one of those, and they are dead. And then you've got a dual purpose. You've got the counter spells to protect your stuff. If everything goes to hell, you bounce everything back to hand, including your own stuff, start over and drop it, because it was also around a 26 or 27 land deck, I think. I think he mentioned that. I might be mixing that up with the other one because then it also had man lands, which, by the way, was a brilliant idea. The other one was 3-color. I think it was black, blue, green, maybe. It might have even been 4-color, come to think of it. His was the same thing. He won the game mostly with the man lands, and then he had a really detrimental couple of creatures that he brought out, and the rest was just destruction, kill, removal, exile, bounce back to hand, just all that. Just I couldn't get anything on the field unless he had really horrific draws. So that's when control works. When what is left in the deck, once you've put in 16 to 20 control cards, the cards that are left in the deck will win the game. They're good enough. So you just have to stall long enough and draw enough cards, have such a card advantage, and scry and just deck control, draw control, that what is left is all you need. I mean, you could literally win the game with one creature. Well, if you're summoning a 1/3, that's 20 swings. Okay, you're not going to win the game with that creature. But if you're summoning a 7/7, you could win the game with that creature. So the solution to people wrecking their deck ideas by putting, 8, 12, 16, 14, control spells in it is to just make sure that what's left in the deck is hyper powerful. You don't need, a 0/4 blocker that costs 1 on the field. You don't need it in your deck if you've got, removal, exile, kill, and counter spells, because that is your early game strategy. So kick that out of the deck, replace it with control, and there you go. So in summary, the mistake that people make is they'll take a perfectly working deck and weaken the hell out of it by putting in 8+ control spells so that they can reliably, stop what the opponent's doing, but they don't make sure that what's remaining in the deck is strong. It's just their original idea. It's like a 1, 2, 3, 4 cost, nice little mana curve, and they're just boring, dull creatures that kind of work together, and honestly, at that point, it's not good enough. You're not going to draw enough of them. So if you're going to do control, you got to get out the bombs. Now, I'm not saying that's true for every single deck ever made, but in general, that is how it works. I could quote tons of examples from competitive level tournaments too, like the Sphinx's Revelation deck from England. I can't get over that. That guy won. Oh my God. That deck was a disgrace to Magic, let's be honest, but it was like 38 control cards and like 2 game winners or something. Oh my God. I think it actually had no win condition. It had to steal one from your deck. I think that's how that one worked. That's taking things a little far, but then again, he made it to the final table, and if I'm not mistaken, he won the entire tournament. So there's that. So guys, stop taking an existing deck and weakening it to put in control, thinking that that's going to do something. If you're going to put in control, you have to build a control deck around it. The rest of the cards have to be way upped in power. That is the moral of the story. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If so, leave a like below. Maybe hit subscribe because I might just come up with some other ideas. And as always, if you guys have any ideas for mistakes that people commonly make that you see, tweet them to me on Twitter or just leave them down in the comment section. And I will see you guys next video.